Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Good Enough Mums Club podcast, where sometimes being good enough is best.
Just before we get started, sometimes a little itty-bitty swear word or two does slip out in the podcast, just in case you're listening with the kids around.
How will I ever be good enough? When will the loneliness fade? When will it fade away? Why does it have to be so tough? Hard as I try, I'll never be good enough.
Hi there, I'm Emily Beecher.
And I'm Jade Samuels, and we are the hosts of the Good Enough Mums Club podcast.
Every week we'll initiate a new mum into the club and explore the complexities and realities of modern motherhood.
You can join the club or find out more about the musical or future episodes of the podcast by following us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram by searching the Good Enough Mums Club. And do not forget to subscribe to the podcast and rate and review wherever you listen.
So in this episode, we're chatting with Carina White.
We were so excited to chat to Carina because we're such huge fans of the Dope Black Mums and the Dope Black Dads podcast. And she was very much at the top of our list when we were thinking about guests. The conversations in Dope Black Mums are so important, and we just wanted to share her story with you. Also, Carina is a kick-ass woman working in a very male-dominated industry. So we really wanted to hear that perspective.
So let's head over to Carina, who we caught up with one evening, and probably unsurprisingly, all three of us had a drink in our hands.
Well, we're going to kick off. We always do this really sort of quick fire round of mum, would you rather? So we're just looking for your first answer that comes to mind, your quick fire one. So I'll start. Would you rather give up tea or give up booze?
Tea.
It was very quick. Okay. Would you rather get your nails done or your hair done?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to say nails because I can wear like a wig or put a headscarf on. So I'm going to go for nails. Yeah.
Would you rather sleep in or have a nap?
Ooh, no, I love my daytime naps. I love them.
Okay.
I'm going to say nap.
You can only ever watch one sport for the rest of your life. What's the sport?
See, I like football. But then basketball has some really decent looking players.
Oh, I'm with you.
I'm a big basketball fan.
Tough one. Like, I'm going to go for basketball.
And okay, so you have to only watch one team. Who's the team?
Oh, that's a tough one as well. Okay. LA Lakers.
Nice.
Yeah.
West Coast. I'm loving it. Yeah. Would you rather clean up poop or clean up puke?
Do you know what? Neither actually faze me.
Okay.
I'd probably say puke only because if the smell of the puke hits me, I'm like, so I actually don't mind. So I think maybe I would go for, I'd rather clean up poo. Yeah.
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 Okay. What is easier, keeping your kids alive or keeping houseplants alive?
Plants, 1,000%. Show you, like, obviously I know this is all jokes, they're not going to show, you're not going to be able to see it, but this is my aloe vera. Why is the whole leaf off? Like, and I tried really hard to salvage it, and I broke a whole leaf off. So if anyone has any aloe vera recipes for something, I've got a whole thick leaf
Okay, if you had to watch a Disney movie 5 times a day, every day, forevermore, what movie are you watching?
Definitely wouldn't be Frozen because I'm sick and tired of let it go. Actually turn me mad.
Did Soraya like 2?
No, thank God she'd got to the age where by the time 2 came out, she was like, it's a bit babyish, mum. And I was like, thank God, because we've watched normal Frozen like so many times.
See, it was really interesting. So Ray and I watched it for the first time yesterday, and Ray was dead against it. She was too, because she's year 5, so are they the same school year?
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, that's so babyish. But we watched it and it was really, really good. Like
Really?
within 20 minutes, I cried 3 times.
Yep, no chance of Frozen 2 getting watched in this house.
No, me neither. Maisie looked at me like I was like suggesting she put on a nappy and run around the neighborhood. Like,
no, definitely not good. What Disney film? Do you know what? I think it would probably be maybe like The Lion King, because I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And I would probably cry every time as well. Like Simba, when he loses his dad.
I
know. It's killer.
I like some Timon and Pumbaa as well. So yeah, they remind me of me and my best friend. We argue with them.
Okay, so we've seen on your Twitter that you love a GIF. What is your favourite or most used GIF, Carina?
The one with the girl, the black girl.
Sipping a tea.
Or the one of the guy where he's like bent over the balcony with his hood up and he's like sipping his drink, like that's me.
You're there for the shade. She's there for the tea and the shade, Carina.
That's basically it. Sums it up.
Love it. Well, I think let's jump straight into the questions, because we just can't. We're so thrilled you're here and we can't wait to talk to you about your mum life. So what was your journey to becoming a mum like?
Absolutely awful. I hated it with every inch of my body. Like when I found out I was pregnant really early, because I had morning sickness from like the first month all the way through to the point that I gave birth. So I absolutely hated my pregnancy. So when I hear people say, oh, I love being pregnant, I'm like, I absolutely hated it. And I couldn't think of anything worse. Like it was absolutely awful. Like I'd probably say like first trimester, I would vomit up anything. So I wasn't eating. So I was in and out of hospital to be on a drip because I just couldn't keep anything down. And then when I got like maybe halfway through my second trimester, I had to eat to not be sick. So as soon as I woke up in the morning, I'd be like vomiting in the toilet, like just vomiting up bile because my stomach was so empty. So as soon as I'd eat, I felt fine. And then like an hour later, I would start to feel sick again. So if my stomach got too empty, I literally would just feel nauseous and feel sick. And it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But it was like, Soraya was like, you know what, Mum, I've put you through a lot of shit. I'm not sure if I can swear, but sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
No, it's about, we are a very sweary safe place.
Amazing. Just slap that warning sign on. So yeah, it was like, Soraya said, you know what, Mum, I've put you through a lot of shit. I'm just going to come. And so I was in labour, I think, for maybe about 3 hours from the point labour started at home to having her at the hospital. I didn't have any pain relief or anything. But I did, because I wasn't listening to the midwives. I'm very hard of hearing. Like, I'm so stubborn. I just wanted her out. I was like, I'm not holding this contraction. No, pushing. I ended up tearing. And then basically every time I wanted to use the toilet after I got home having stitches and stuff, I had to sit in the bath to wait, because I was like, oh my God, this is worse than having a urine infection. Like, it's the worst thing ever of your urine just going over like your stitches. Yeah, it was absolutely awful. I remember her dad coming in one time and I was literally like, I'm just going to the toilet, and he came in the bathroom and I stripped off and I was sitting in the bath. He went, are you pissing in the bath? I went, do not judge me. I tore pushing your child out. Leave me alone.
Judgment.
I'm going to do what I've got to do. So, yeah, other than that, I mean, she was such a good baby. I couldn't even, like, I'm not a traditional mum. I'm kind of like, I'm still winging it. 10 years later, I'm still winging it. But she was a really good baby. She literally just ate and slept until it got to the time where it was time for her to come off the boob. She didn't want to come off the boob. And she thought she would be as stubborn as possible by, I remember going back to work doing like a freelance event management gig. And she must have been, I reckon she was probably like 7-8 months maybe. And she did not eat from the moment I left that house in the morning after giving her last feed. I got home at maybe like 10:30. She hadn't ate for the whole day.
Oh, so stubbornness runs in the family, I can see, Carina.
You know what, Jay? I don't think it's me. Like, I think maybe she gets it from like one of my siblings or something, or maybe her dad, because you know what? I would probably say I'm like the least stubborn person. Maybe a little bit. But yeah, she didn't eat for the whole day. Like, and I was like, my God, you are so stubborn. But yeah, it's been a journey and a half, and I'm winging it. And I don't mind holding up my hands and saying I'm winging it.
Oh God, me too.
Yeah, no, for sure. That is pretty much what the Good Enough Mums Club is.
We're admitting we don't know what we're doing, and we're just trying to get through this alive.
Trying to get through each day, whether it takes gin, Prosecco, a little bit of looking up to the sky and saying, God, please, please give me the strength to not scream at this child today. But I mean, we've made it to, you know, she's 11 in November. She's still alive. She's not been hurt. She's still here. She tolerates me. I tolerate her. And here we are.
What is lockdown? Because I think we all have kids the same age. My daughter's 11 next month.
And Ray's 10 in August. So there's like a year between all of them.
First available point, she was back at school, because I did not ask to be around my child 24 hours a day. I didn't ask when I became a mum. I thought when you're a mum, there's set hours that you mum. So that's, you know, in the morning until they go to school, and then in the evenings when they finish school until bedtime. That's set hours. And then, you know, at the weekend.
Yeah.
I didn't ask or imagine as a mum, you know, when you're on holiday as well, like, you know, when it's half term or whatever, you're still working. There might be like 2 weeks max that you're around them, unless you're a teacher. Then I really do feel for you being at home.
No, but then there's clubs. There's play date swaps. There's all those wonderful things that we've got to survive this.
Right. So I was like, I don't know who I pissed off up above or who pissed someone off, but why am I having to be around my child 24 hours a day? And she's like, why am I having to be around my mum 24 hours?
Yeah,
100%.
First time she could go and like when we could visit grandparents, and she went to her grandma on her dad's side, she was gone for 3 weeks. She didn't even want to come home. I was like, Sarai, you're not coming home? Yeah, but we're just going to be bored, so I think I'm just going to stay at Nanny's. I was like, no, you're going to have to come home at some point. She was like, yeah. She was really upset to come home, and then you know, schools are breaking up. So she's like, so can I go back to Nanny's? Can I go back to Nanny's? You know, she's done with me. And that's okay, because, you know.
The feeling is very mutual, I assume.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I joke about that, but I do feel that it's not normal for anyone to be around a pet 24 hours a day and not have any interaction. Not even, you know, people who say, I absolutely love my kids, I don't mind being around them. I absolutely love my daughter to bits. Like I wouldn't change her for the absolute world. But, you know, same way, if I lived with my partner, I would not be able to be around them 24/7 with no interaction with anyone else. So, you know, we had good days where we had homeschooling down to a T. Then we had bad days where it was like, right, school's on half term, homeschooling's on half term for the foreseeable future. So, you know, we did get through it. And I think I really, you know, I there's never going to be another time that I'm going to be able to spend as much time with her as we have done during lockdown. And, you know, we definitely cherished that time, regardless of whether we were fed up with each other or not. You know, we cooked together. She was cooking Thai green curry. She was making breakfast. She was, you know, doing chores in the house. She was learning how to do like science experiments and all of these different things. We painted like the whole flat. We repainted the whole flat ourselves. Yes,
that's amazing.
All of these things, you know, there were things that we did in lockdown that we would have never had the time to do if I was at work. So yeah, I as much as I say she was over spending time with me and vice versa, we really did have some amazing like mum-daughter moments together and spent a lot of time together. So yeah.
I feel like I really know my daughter in a way I didn't before all this happened. You know her, but like you know her now. Like,
Yeah.
don't know if I like her all the time, but I know her. I'm going to be honest. Like, genuinely.
And that's okay if you don't as well. That's okay, because you know, it's I really feel like with some parents, they put on a pretense about how parenting is going for them, and it's not healthy. You have to be really honest and allow your kids to be really honest. You know, if your child says to you, you know what, Mum, I love you, but I actually don't like you sometimes, I'd prefer for her to feel that she can be really open and honest with me about that than be like saying, oh yeah, no, my mum's great, through gritted teeth, you know. To have healthy conversation and express how you feel, and then you can work on, you know, the reasons why you might get on their nerves or whatever. If you don't know that you get on their nerves, then you don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, for sure.
How have you found, I want to know, because you have this incredible career in a very male orientated world, how have you found juggling that with motherhood? Have the two married easily, or has it been a bit of a real balancing plate act?
I've been really lucky when, you know, I had my daughter, I worked for some amazing men where I started out in my football career. And because they were dads, they got it. They really did understand it. And they understood that, you know, I can only work certain days a week, or I need to work from home some days, or, you know, if they want me to work late, they need to give me enough notice, because, you know, my daughter was really young then. She was like baby still. So they were really, really understanding. And then as she's got older, like toddler age, growing up, I've just been really clear about my work's expectations. So it's very much, I have a child at home, so yeah, I might be able to get into work early because she goes to nursery or she's at school, but guess what? I need to be out of that door by 4:30 because I've got childcare commitments that I need to go and collect her from. So I've been really kind of upfront with expectations of kind of what to expect, and, you know, knowing what time I need to leave work and so on and so forth. I think as I've gone a little bit more senior, and the demand to, you know, be out after work has increased, actually, because she's now older, it's become much easier because, you know, she walks home from school by herself. So if it's that, you know, she'll come home and she'll take off her school uniform and then she'll walk around to my neighbour's house and she'll stay there until I get in from work. If I know that, you know, I'm not going to get in until late, she'll take pajamas and stuff with her. And, you know, my neighbour, it's an older couple, but they then got their kids, and one's like in year 10, so she's like 15, and the other one's like mid-20s, and so they all make sure that she's okay. So it's like having an extended family that live in the same building as me, which is really, really lovely. But then also I have a really supportive family as well. Like my dad, when he's not in Jamaica, and he normally spends like 6 months in Jamaica, 6 months here. And so when he is here, you know, that's a real source of support because he's not far from me. So yeah, I'm it's not lost on me that I'm in a very privileged position in terms of juggling motherhood and juggling a career, because I look at some of my friends and they find it really, really, really difficult. You know, there's times where I'll be saying, look, just drop off your child to me and go and do what you need to do, because I realise that some of my friends don't have that support system like how I have. They don't have that luxury of having parents or parents around them that they get on with or whatever, that they can ask that. So it's very much, for me, amongst my friendship group, it's very much an extended family. You know, one of my best friends, her mum will always have my daughter for me if I need her to, and even my best friend. But again, I think it's much easier now because she's older, and, you know, you send her with her phone and her iPad and a book and you won't hear from her for the whole day. So, yeah. But yeah, it's not lost on me that I have that privilege, that actually I do have a really, really good support system, and I do recognise that not everybody's like that, or have understanding employers, or feel empowered to be able to say, look, I'm here, but I've got to leave at 4:00. You can get me on my phone anytime after that, but I'm leaving at 4. Not everyone has that privilege.
It's the village mentality, isn't it? Because when I had Ray, I lived in London for a couple of years when I was training at drama school. And when I graduated, I pretty much ran back to Birmingham, where I had a family to help. Do you know what I mean? So when I have jobs, even if I need to be in London for a couple of weeks or days or whatever, we've only just, literally during lockdown, we moved house. We've just moved, but we lived on the next road over to my mum. And then my dad was the other road over. And I was like, I'm not ramping. Because the arts, it's like yourself, the amount of evenings I have to be out, like if I'm in the theatre working or networking or rehearsing or whatever, it just wasn't going to work. So that's that. We're at my mum's house tonight, funnily enough.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I don't have that at all. And so I am so envious of someone who can just take over occasionally. And it's such a weird concept for me in some ways to sort of hear it. Very jealous, to be fair, especially in sort of lockdown and that sort of thought. Yeah. But it is, and I think it's amazing that you've been able to build a career like you have as well, because that takes a lot of personal determination as well when you have a kid, because people always expect you to check out a bit, don't they? They're kind of like, yeah, you're done.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I am that mum that will bring the kids to work. I don't care if I've got to bring my daughter to work, then I will, and she'll have to just sit in a corner somewhere. And again, I've worked for companies that have been really supportive of that, so it has been fine. Even like sometimes if I've got work events or whatever after work, I'm like, right, I'm gonna have to bring my daughter. But again, she's older, so I'm able to do that now because she can easily go and sit in a corner somewhere and sit on her phone or whatever.
Well, what's something about motherhood you never expected?
Losing your identity to a certain extent. So not knowing, am I Carina Sarai's mum or am I Carina? And I have this, for a long time, it was like, who am I? Am I someone's mum or am I me? And it took me a long while to kind of answer that question. And now I realise I'm me, I'm Carina, and I have to be okay to be able to be Saraya's mum. So first and foremost, I'm me, then I'm Saraya's mum. Because if I'm not okay with me and I'm not okay with everything that's happening in my life or emotions, energy, that doesn't put me in the best frame of mind or the best position to be Saraya's mum. So sometimes people always say, do you put yourself first or do you put your kids first? And I can unashamedly say I put myself first because I have to be 100% happy and okay and stress-free and good energy to be able to give her everything that she needs and to be able to be a mum to her. And if I'm not, then I can't give her everything that she needs. So sometimes I can say, do you know what? She needs to be somewhere, but I also need 10 minutes to myself or a day to myself. And I will give myself that day because sometimes you need to recalibrate before you can be on 100 and be at your best to be a mum to this person that you love unconditionally. And so I really did struggle in terms of, am I me? Am I my daughter? Am I my daughter's mum? And I think a lot of people who struggle with who they are start to resent their kids sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to say I ever resented my daughter because I definitely didn't. But what I found is that you would struggle with needing to provide for her, but also needing to provide for yourself. And the two can go hand in hand and you can do the two simultaneously or in cohesion. But sometimes you have to be able to step back and say, I've got to put myself first for half a day or for a day to be able to get back on track.
Completely.
If I don't get back on track, I can't be there wholeheartedly and bring my whole self to being a mum to my child. So I didn't realise that I would, being a mum or going through motherhood, I never realised I would struggle with identity. But I'm glad that I did because it's made me come out on the other side being, I think, a better mum and not stressing about the little things.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, though, it's that the world, the media, whoever set it up, that you must sacrifice to be a mum. You have to go through pain to parent. And it's painful enough anyway, let's be honest. So why would you want to sacrifice? And I get that completely with the identity thing, because as I said, I was at drama school when I got pregnant, and everyone just assumed that would be the end of me acting. They were like, well, you're not going to act, are you? And it was like, well, I can't be a mum. I can't not be a mum, and I can't not be an actress. So the whole identity, I realised it early on. I was like, if I give up drama school and I don't act and I don't pursue this, I'm going to resent you for the rest of my life. And I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to be able to love her. So I get it completely, the whole identity thing. It's hopefully more conversations like this help women realise they don't have to choose.
Yeah, I think you're forged, though. I feel like I know who I am now, partly because I went through that weird thing of, well, you're always someone, Maisie's mom. But I feel like I'm a much stronger sort of stand tall, know who I am person, because I've had to question that. I think that, just like you said, it's sort of that thing where you don't really know, you kind of get lost, I think, in early motherhood, don't you? And then having to find your way. What stereotypes, we talk about this a lot, like what sort of stereotypes we see of ourselves in the media that we really hate. Are there any stereotypes that you see in the media that just piss you off?
Yeah, so I think from the perspective of a Black mum, there's so many stereotypes that I see that are perpetuated in the media in whatever capacity that might be, whether it's in the news or TV or movies. And it's always that, Black mums are single mums, or they come from broken homes, or their kids are really wayward, or there's always an issue. And, I'm not with my daughter's dad, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have like a negative relationship, or that my daughter is, growing up to be wayward and out of control. And it's like, actually, I think what I would love to normalize for people is that you can be with someone and love them wholeheartedly and think that this is the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And, you want to have kids with them so you can have a family together. And that's brilliant. That can all come crashing down. And for me, I want to normalize not staying in relationships for the sake of the kids, because it's not healthy. And I want people to understand that it's not anything to be ashamed of to break away from your partner or the mother or father of your kids. It's okay to say, do you know what? This is an unhealthy situation, or this is an unhealthy environment, which is toxic. And for the sake of my kids, I'm going to walk away from this, because it's better for them to be in loving environments, even if that means 2 separate homes, than being in an environment where they're around 2 parents who clearly have an issue with each other, or don't love each other anymore, or arguing constantly, or there's abuse, or, I think I just want people to normalize that it's okay to be in a separated environment. It's okay to co-parent. It's okay to move on and, go into another relationship. All of those things are okay. We don't all have to live in the 2.4 family with mum, dad, and the 2 kids. Like, it's okay to have different family structures, and that's not just specific to a certain ethnicity or a certain race. That is across everybody. You have to raise your children in an environment that is positive for them and not toxic. And if that means being separate from their dad and having to co-parent, then so be it. You have to do and make sure that your kids are being raised in a positive and loving and nourishing environment. And sometimes staying in a relationship is not that.
Absolutely. And I think you're right that it needs to be normalized, because I remember my daughter, because I think all of us are single parents, and the whole Good Enough Mums production key producers all 3 of us are.
Yeah, all single moms. So yeah.
But I remember her being like, everybody lives with their dad, like when she was really little. And there was part of me that just wanted to be like, just wait. They do now, but when you get older, I bet they won't. But it is hard for them, I think. And so I was constantly sort of always looking for like kids' books about, and my ex and I, we co-parent really well. And we definitely co-parent better than we parented together. but it is really important that that gets normalized for kids as well as for adults who feel like.
Yeah. And I think as well, like you said, I think with my daughter, she has a mixture of both, in that her friendship circles, you know, some of them, her friends' parents are still together, some aren't. Even with our family, you know, she sees really positive relationships with, you know, two parents living in the same household, or, you know, some separate. But whoever I choose to settle down with and marry or whatever, she's going to be living in a positive household, in a positive, loving environment with someone who's not necessarily her biological dad, but will also be that father figure in her life in addition to her own dad. And I mean, for me, who doesn't want to have two dads, you know, or three dads, or three father figures, or whatever? Because the benefit of that is unmatched, because, you know, you get advice from lots of different people, you have support from different people. For me,
hello, Christmas, you get more Christmas presents. That's
exactly. You know, you've got more people that you can wrap around your finger to get trainers, because trainers are very expensive these days.
Phones,
phones, clothes, you know, all of those material things. But I think also it's just knowing that you know, I'm very heavily involved in the culture that I was raised in, which is Caribbean and Jamaican culture. And, you know, in that culture, you call everyone auntie or uncle, like the elders, and it's that real family feel. It doesn't matter whether they're your biological DNA aunt or uncle. You know, you call your mum's friends auntie or uncle, your dad's friends. And so for me, it's just that added extension of, actually, yes, you have your dad, and that is your dad. No one's ever going to replace him. But also you have all of these people, someone who lives with you, who is also a father figure to you, someone that also is going to help shape you into the amazing young woman that you're going to grow up to be.
For sure. I think the more, I always said to people, like, we had so many guy friends around or whatever, but generally the more people that love a child, the better it is for that child. And it sounds like, obviously, Jamaican culture is sort of known for the big families and the aunties and the uncles, and that's such an amazing thing, because, you know, kids do need that. They need different people they can talk to about different things.
Yeah, they do. My dad's got 7 brothers and sisters, all from the same mum and dad. It's mad, isn't it? They do.
Yep, same with them. Same on my mum's side. There's, I think, 7 of them, and then on my dad's side, there's maybe like 6 or 7 as well. So,
and same on my mum's. My mum's family, the family are Irish, so there's just loads of kids everywhere.
Absolutely ridiculous, but you know, I love it. You know, family dinners, family parties, family like weddings and stuff is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I love linking up with my cousins, like, and even like my friends who my daughter calls like auntie or uncle, whatever, their kids, she will be like, that's my cousin. And so they now are having that added, you know, extended family from an early age. Like it's one of my goddaughter's birthdays today, and my daughter put up on her WhatsApp story, happy birthday, cuzzy. And I'm like, I absolutely love that, because that's not your cousin, but you love her and see her as though she is.
Yeah,
that's so lovely.
I've been happy to see my family again. I'm not gonna lie, in some capacity I've missed them so much, like really have. So yeah,
I mean, for my siblings and I mean, my nephew is 3 or coming up to 3, and I think he definitely was over being around his mum and dad for such a long period of time. There was times where I was literally having to play hide and seek with him on FaceTime. Don't ask me how. Spending like 45 minutes to an hour on the phone playing hide and seek. So it's all of these things that you're like, I didn't even know it was possible that you can play hide and seek on FaceTime, you know? But it's just little things like that, especially I think with the kids. I think we are in such, obviously it was such a rubbish time and such a rubbish thing for Corona to happen. And, you know, my family was really hit hard with losing people. But if it wasn't for technology, we would have never been able to stay connected and to, you know, laugh together, cry together, and, you know, just have fun, do quizzes and stuff like that. It's actually made me appreciate my family even more. So yeah, I'm with you, Jade. I did really, really miss them. And just to even, you know, go and social distance in a garden, you don't realize and don't appreciate your family as much until you go through something like that.
Carina, I just want to ask, what was your care like around your pregnancy and your hospitalisation when you had your daughter?
Well, my what do they call? See, this is how disconnected I was. It's prenatal care, right? Like,
yeah.
Goes to show how much this just sums up what I'm like as a mum, and that I don't even know what it's called. Prenatal care. I think I went to one of those, like, what's the thing where they teach you like how to breathe?
NCT.
It wasn't even NCT. What's like the
Mars breathing, you're breathing.
Yeah, I went to one of them and I sat in there and I literally said, sorry, mind my language. I said, what the hell is this? I'm not coming back to this. And I didn't go back. I was like, I'm not sitting in a room with people going, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And I went once, and me and my daughter's dad literally looked at each other, and he was like, yeah, not even doing this again, you know. I said, I never see me back there again. So I didn't. I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to wing it, just like I've been doing for the last 10 years. I think actually that probably set a precedence whilst I was pregnant, that I'm just going to wing it. So I'm going to wing it in pregnancy, in labour. I'm just going to wing it. I don't know how the breathing exercises go. I'm just going to figure it out. So yeah, I mean, that aside of not going to the breathing classes, I mean, I'm 35 now. My daughter's turning 11. So I was like 25, and I look very young anyway. So the care that I got, I in my eyes, they thought I was younger than I actually was. So I was treated as such. And, you know, even being in and out of hospital, it was kind of like, you know, you're young, so it's we know best sort of thing. And, you know, I do expect doctors to know best, but also I'm a woman, I know my body, so I also know how I'm feeling. When I actually went into labour, like I said, I had a really quick labour, and I remember being at home and I'd woken up in the morning and I'd had my show and then started to have contractions. And I rang the hospital and they were like, yep, well, you know, it's your first baby, so you can come down if you want to, but we're probably going to send you back home. So I was like, okay, fine. So I'm on the way to the hospital and I'm literally like having contractions in the car, like literally thinking I'm going to give birth in the car. So my daughter's dad went to go and park the car, and I went in and I thought, you know, I'm just going to go to the A&E for pregnant women because they've already told me that they're going to probably send me home. So I get in there and the woman takes one look at me and she's like, hun, yeah, you're in labour. You're going to have the baby. You need to go to the labour ward. So I was like, okay, fine. So they've like whisked me through like this back way, like through theatre wards and everything to the maternity ward. And I get there and they check me in, and then she checks me, and it just wasn't really a loving experience, that first experience of being checked over and having my obs taken and stuff. And so she said to me, right, I need you to go and do a urine sample. So I was like, okay, fine. So I left out of this little broom cupboard that they had me in to go and do a urine sample, did the urine sample, came back, and I was like, I need to push. No, you don't need to push. You don't. I'm like, I need to push. She's like, no, you'll be fine. It's too, like, I just measured you and you 5 centimeters or 6 centimeters dilated. You don't need to push. I'm like, I need to push. And she was so adamant that I didn't need to push. And I was getting so like annoyed. I'm like, mate, I need to push. Like, I'm telling you, I feel like I want to push a poo out. And because obviously I didn't go to the breathing classes, my source of information was like YouTube and other people. And I'd watched a YouTube video of a girl saying, when you feel like you need to poo, that's when it's time to push. Because I pooed during labour. So I was like, right, okay, I feel like I need to poo, so it must be time to push. And this went back and forth. And then in the end, my daughter's dad was like, she says she needs to push, so sort it out. And bearing in mind, I'm in a broom cupboard, like I'm just in a holding room sort of thing. It was not big at all. So she checks me and she's like, yeah, you're fully dilated. And I'm like, but I've been telling you this for like the last half an hour. Like I've literally been holding in the urge to like push. So she takes me to like, they tried to move me into the room, the delivery room, and had my daughter and stuff. And I mean, it wasn't like an awful experience, but for me, it was like, but I was telling you that I needed to push. Like, if you had listened to me, I maybe might have been able to have some sort of pain relief, like just something, but you weren't listening to me. And I don't know whether it was because I was black. I don't know if it's because I looked young and they thought, you know, this child's telling us how to do our jobs or whatever. I don't know. But it wasn't a nice experience. And then I ended up tearing, like I said, and then I was having to have stitches. And then by the time my sister got there, she was meant to be my second birthing partner. She walked in with like a bag and phone chargers and food, like supplies, ready to, you know, be in it for the long haul. She walked in and there was like a baby on my chest. I missed it. I was like, sorry, babes. You know, but yeah, I've heard a lot of really worrying stories. And even just the other day, I was talking on Twitter about the statistics and how Black women are 5 times more likely to die during childbirth. And a lady reached out to me on DMs because, Jade, you'll know this because you follow me on Twitter. I mouth off quite a lot of the time. Like I like to call people out because I want to see things change. So I do call out people quite a lot.
No, to your benefit, you're not. It's not performative. It's very much action based, and that's why I like Carina, because everyone can chat, but what are you doing with the chat? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I try and hold people accountable, and you know, I will pull people up if I feel they need to be pulled up. But yeah, I was talking about the statistics around Black women, that they're 5 times more likely to die during childbirth. And someone reached out to me in my DMs and she was like, I'm pregnant, but I can't talk about this publicly because I haven't told my employers yet. She was like, when I went to the hospital, I was talking to the midwife about my concerns being a Black woman, about, you know, the statistics and just feeling really anxious and whatever. And the midwife said to her, oh, you don't have to worry about that. The statistics are because Black women can't speak English. And she was like, right. So she went, yeah, you don't have to worry about that because you speak English fine, so you'll be fine. So I was like, are you being serious? And she was like, yeah. So I said, right, what hospital was it? And so then I went on a rant on the Dope Black Mums Twitter, and I was like calling out the hospital, and like I'd posted the chat between me and her, and obviously took out anything that identified who this young lady was. And I was like tweeting away, and I was like, right, I want to hear from the hospital. Like, what have you got to say about this? Because you do know the statistics around Black women. You do know that we are out here dying at a higher rate than any other ethnicity. Like it's unacceptable. And everyone's like, oh, well, you know, it must be predisposed. And okay, so if it's predisposed and it's something to do with our genetic makeup, why are those statistics not the same in Caribbean countries? Why are those statistics not the same in African countries? Why are they only at those statistics in the US and the UK, where we know systematic racism exists, and that is how it is perpetuated in a health environment? And you know, the hospital in question did reach out to me and did say, you know, I'm really sorry to hear this, please can you get in contact with us? And I sent the details to the young lady, and she made the complaint, and she said, you know, I will make the complaint just because I don't want anyone else to have to go through that. but I'm not having my baby at that hospital. I don't have faith in that hospital. I don't have faith in their maternity services. So I don't want to have my baby at that hospital. And I was like, do you know what? Absolutely don't blame you for that, because it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know the exact statistics, but I would assume the majority of Black women that are having babies can speak English. And even if they can't speak English, that is for the NHS to provide adequate services that everybody can access, regardless of whether they speak English or not. That you shouldn't be, even if that was the case, you shouldn't be losing your baby or losing your life because there's a language barrier. That to me, that's unacceptable.
I was listening to an interview on the Radio 4 podcast on the statistics, or the Women's Hour podcast on the statistics around Black women dying. And so there's this historian in America who she went into the history of gynecology and how they ripped apart Black women essentially and did all of the experiments on them. So she's the historian, knows all the history. She then went into hospital and she firsthand with the doctor before her name, with everything else, dealt with those same systematic, what's the word I'm looking for? All those viewpoints and all those predisposed things that people feel about Black women were perpetuated on her. And it was like, if it can happen to a doctor who studies gynecology history, who studies why Black women are being treated like that, then what chance does someone who hasn't got any sort of education stand? It's really sad, really sad.
Yeah. It's worrying too. And, you know, some of the things that the Midwifery Council have said that, you know, maternity services need to put in place, like, you know, suggesting and advising women and Black and Asian women of like vitamins and stuff that they should be taking, and, you know, making notes about their socioeconomic factors. And I'm like, are you not being serious? You should have been doing all of this anyway, just as standard. Like, of course you should be advising Black women that they need to be potentially taking more vitamin D or what vitamins and stuff that they should be taking. Of course you should put down if, you know, they're living in a property with 5 other people, or, you know, they're living below poverty line, or of course those just should be standard things that you're doing anyway. And it shouldn't just be for Black women, it should be for all mothers, but specifically Black women, because we are the ones that find out that we're pregnant and don't know whether we're going to live at the end of those 9 months. It's ridiculous.
I had an old Jamaican midwife. She did call her a pretty half-caste baby when she passed it to me, and I just went with it. And I said, "Is there anything I shouldn't do?" She goes, "Just don't have any pate or cheesecake. Everything else is don't worry about all the other stuff." I was like, "All right, love, thank you."
Honestly, I think everyone says if they've had like a Caribbean or like Jamaican midwife, they've had a good experience. Or the people that I know that have said that anyway. Obviously, I know it might not be the case all the way around, but I don't know. It's literally just like having like a grandma or an auntie.
Oh, she weren't rampant. When she come to the house, I picked up something. She says, "I need to change the baby." I picked up, just obviously sleep deprived, new mum. I picked up a baby girl off the side. She says no, and threw it across the room. I says, "All right, I'm really sorry."
They're the best. They really are.
But I preferred that honesty. Do you know what I mean? Rather than pussyfooting. She told me straight, "That's not good enough. Go be a better mum." I was like, "All right."
Don't worry, I will. Yep. Thanks for that.
Thank you. No, but she says this is going to be what, she was that old. She says this is going to be one of my last babies. So I felt really honoured actually, which was quite sweet. But I'll never forget what she said about Ray when she picked her up. Ray is beautiful. She's a very beautiful child. I was like, thanks. I think really on PC, but we'll roll with it. It's fine.
Why don't you start by telling us about Dope Black Mums, and then maybe some of the, you know, best favorite things that you've discussed as a group.
So I am 1/5 of the Dope Black Mums podcast and never actually thought that I would be sitting down talking about like parenting and stuff like that for an hour, but here we are. So on this pod as well. But yeah, it's what I absolutely love about it is we've grown with the podcast, or the podcast has grown with us. We set out to fill that gap of catering to Black or mixed mums, or mums that might have Black kids, and wanted to hear a different side of parenting from a different perspective, because there was no other kind of platform that catered to that. And we talk about any and anything. We've got a podcast that talks about sex after childbirth. We've got a podcast that talks about a guy who is, he used to be the ladies' man and used to have lots of women. But then we talk about some serious stuff as well. We had a podcast for Baby Loss Awareness Week, which one of our co-hosts, she lost a baby, and she was talking about her experiences. And also one of my cousins were on as well, talking about her experiences of losing 2 babies. But it was nice because we were able to end that pod on a high, because Nanadjua, who's one of our co-hosts, she announced at the end of the podcast that she was pregnant. So it was like, yay, we're talking about yay, you're pregnant. And she carried the baby full term, and Malachi is absolutely beautiful. But yeah, we talk about, in the last, I'd probably say 4 months, I wouldn't say the aim has shifted, but kind of the content of the podcast has shifted slightly, in that we do a lot of reactive pods depending on what's going on in society. But we also try and tailor it to kind of from the Black mum's perspective, or something about Black motherhood. And also we tackle issues that we know are happening, but they're not being spoken about. So we did a pod on egg donation and egg freezing, and the fact that as a Black woman, the older you get, the less likely it is that you would have feasible eggs, or that you would be able to conceive, which is much higher. The chance of being less likely to conceive are much higher in Black women the older you get. So it was talking about that, and we had a gynecologist on, and he was really talking about the process of egg donation, egg freezing. And so when you have pods like that, that's not just for Black mothers, that's for Black women, that's also for white women or Asian women who want to know about egg donation or fertility or egg freezing. So our pods aren't just, we get asked all the time, and it really annoys me. It's like, why don't Black mums? We're all mums. You're being divisive, And I'm like, guys, when you log on to certain platforms that I won't name on here, but they have similar names, it doesn't say that it's for white mums, but it basically is. Like, it doesn't say it's for white mums.
It says to you, that's why we wanted you guys. You were the only podcast, like, that we approached, because I says, I don't want to hear those stories again. They've been told 10 and 10 and 10 and thousands and hundreds of times.
And, it's fine, but when we went, we had a little a task. We went onto the forums on those websites, and we looked at which forums hardly had any questions. Sorry, hardly had any answers. And it was the questions of mums that had mixed kids saying, I don't know what to do with their hair. How do I manage their hair? Tumbleweed. Oh, my child's mixed. They're being bullied in school about their colour. I don't know what to do. Tumbleweed. And it's like, okay, come on over to Dope Black Mums, because you'll hear about these things. You can reach out to us and ask these things. And I think the most powerful podcast that we've done to date, we've done some amazing podcasts, but I think one of the best ones that I've really enjoyed doing was Dear Dope White Mum. And it was basically, we didn't even set out with the intention of calling it that. We were just feeling really emotional with the whole Black Lives Matter stuff and the George Floyd killing. And we were like, we just want to talk about this. We want to talk about how we're feeling. And that was one of our reactive pods. And it became very apparent in the podcast that we need non-Black mums to step up and raise their kids to be anti-racist and to lead us in the fight to equality and trying to eradicate racism and discrimination, because every person that has carried out a racist act has a mum. Mm. And if we can get those mums on board to know that they're raising the next generation and to raise the kids right, to be global citizens, to be anti-racist, to be, diverse in their friendship circles, the books that they're reading, the TV programs they're watching, then actually we might actually have a better future for our kids. And, I was really emotional in that pod because I was just so pissed off, and I ended up crying, and we got so many, I was trying not to cry. And then I was like, we pride ourselves on being really authentic. So if I'm trying not to cry, that's not me being authentic. I have to be vulnerable on the podcast. I have to show emotion. And we've had so many mums reach out to us to say, oh my God, I thought I got it. And I realized I don't, because I've just listened to your podcast and I've realized I didn't think about the fact that you can't go on holiday to certain places because of how you might be treated. I didn't think about the fact that, you might not be able to go to certain clubs because you're Black. I didn't realize that. I didn't think it. And so what's been really great about the podcast and us as a Five is that actually people are listening and it's affecting change. We have a partnership with NHS Blood and Donation Service because we were like, it's all great and amazing that we do all this talk, but like you said, Jade, we want to back this chat up. We want to be able to affect change. So we know that sickle cell disease is a disease that primarily affects people from the Black and Asian community. We have a wide range of people from the Black community that listen to us. So why wouldn't we talk on improving blood donations from the Black community? Why wouldn't we raise awareness about sickle cell and what that means for the Black community? And back to the fact that I like to call people out on Twitter. I was calling out, as per usual, a charity, a baby loss charity, and their CEO reached out to me and said, look, we know that we can do better in providing care and aftercare after a loss to Black mothers. Will you work with us to do that and to show us where we can be doing better? And so now we are. And so for me, it's there's so many different avenues that have come from doing the podcast. And we've had people reach out to us to kind of help them do research into the statistics about Black mums, and I'm like, I'm more than happy to do that, because for me, Soraya, my daughter, sees all of that, and she sees that her mum's trying to affect change. I'm not saying that she needs to grow up to be an activist, but I want her to know that if you want to have something change and you're not happy about something, use your voice to affect change in whatever way you can. Our podcast started off so small, and it still is relatively small compared to some of the other parenting podcasts. But guess what? If it means that through the podcast we can affect change for one person, it makes all of it worthwhile.
I absolutely love your podcast. And I also love the fact that you disagree with each other.
Oh my God, all the time.
But I think it's so amazing to get multiple points of view. And I'll say this as a white woman, it's great to hear that all of you felt really differently about race when we listened to the, Dear White Mom, Dope White Mom. It's great to know that, you guys had varying opinions on it, because I think sometimes people feel like, oh my God, if I have to do it this one way or I'm going to get it wrong.
Yeah, we always disagree. That pod, one of them, Natalie, was like, no, don't ask me. And I'm like, no, but Natalie, I would prefer for a white person to ask me than get it wrong. She's like, no, I don't know. It's just my experience. Don't ask me. So, we are really different. And that is the beauty, that, you know, we get backlash not all the time actually, but you know, sometimes we get it when it's like, why not all mums? We're all mums. And you know, it's saying actually, just the same way that we don't agree on everything on the podcast and we have very different experiences, it's the same way we don't expect everybody to agree with Dope Black Mums or the name. But what we would ask is that you just listen to the podcast, because you'll see that it's not us bashing mums that aren't black. It's just that we are 5 black mums talking about the way that we parent. And a lot of people don't realize that there's cultural influences that affect how you parent your kids. There's cultural influences into what you experience as a mum. I had to say to someone the other day, because they were like, you know, you're being divisive. They basically did an all lives matter version of motherhood. All mums matter, you know. We're all the same, we're all connected. And I was like, yes, we are all connected, but we aren't all the same. We're all very, very different, and our experiences are very different. And for black mums in particular, we are having to contend with the fact that our kids are most likely to be permanently excluded from the education system. They are most likely to be stopped and searched. They are most likely to be seen as a threat to other people. And as mothers, we are also more likely to die during childbirth or to lose our babies. So actually, when you actually really do dig deep, we're not all the same, and we all have very, very different experiences. But what we are all connected in is motherhood, and that we all like to have a laugh. And, you know, Nanadua is a hardcore Christian. She absolutely hates when we swear on the podcast. You know, Endy is a vegan, so she absolutely hates when we're banging on about chicken and meat and stuff like that. And, you know, sometimes we do it to wind her up even more. You know, Natalie and I, we are very similar, so we clash all the time. But at the same time, we are all 5 black mums who absolutely love each other, love our kids, and just want to tell our stories. And we want to, you know, we encourage other people to come onto the platform and tell their stories. We had a white mum come on called the Mixed Race Experience. So if anyone is listening and, you know, they do have mixed kids, we have an episode called the Mixed Race Experience where we had a white mum called Steph come on, and she spoke about her experiences of raising mixed race children and, you know, having to ensure that they have the best of both worlds, but then also understanding that there's issues that are going to affect her kids that she has no experience of, but she wants to be able to understand it, and she wants to be able to ensure that she's prepared for those experiences that she might come across that she's not used to. So yeah, listen to the pod, learn something new, and, you know, we are always open to answer questions or give advice on anything that people might need.
Excellent. That's awesome. Thank you, Carina.
So where can we find you guys, Dope Black Mums? Where can we listen to you, follow you, look at you?
So we are on all social platforms. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, just search Dope Black Mums and you'll find us. And on all streaming sites, so Spotify, Apple, all the normal ones. Again, just search Dope Black Mums and you will find us.
Thank you so much, Carina, for chatting to us and being so honest with us. It was such a lovely chat to have with another mum who has a little one round about the same age as both Emily and my daughters and appreciates a night off with a nice glass of something cold.
You can join the Good Enough Mums Club by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching Good Enough Mums Club. We'd love it if you can hit that subscribe button for the podcast and rate and review us wherever you listen. And if you know a mum who'd like this, please do tell them about it.
If the stories in this podcast resonated with you and made you think, or even just reassured you that you're doing okay as a mum, you're going to love what we have coming up.
Thanks so much for listening. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
How will I ever be good enough? When will the loneliness fade away? When will it fade away? Why does it have to be so tough? Hard as I try, I'll